Hello, welcome to day 3 of Star Wars Celebration. It's our nightly recap show. I'm Alex. Tonight I've got Mike Celestino with me.
Hi.
And also we've got Kyle, who is not at Star Wars Celebration, but has been managing Laughing Place News Desk. So I guess, Mike, we'll start with what was, in your opinion, the big news out of today, the big reveal.
I don't know if there was any really big news. The Mandalorian panel was mostly about bringing out the cast and the creators about the show. I think, the crowd was very excited to see all the cast members and stuff, but there wasn't. I don't think there was a big. The official confirmation of who was cast as Sabine Wren in the Ahsoka series. I think that was the biggest thing, but that had leaked months ago, as we discovered.
Oh, okay. And I guess I intentionally have avoided a lot of spoilers, so I didn't even realize that the Ahsoka series was going to bring in Sabine Wren. I think we saw it looked like Hera Syndulla from the back in one shot, and then Chopper confirmed to be in the series, and Chopper came out on stage and made an appearance. So I didn't realize that they were bringing so much of Star Wars Rebels into Ahsoka. That was news to me.
Yeah, it looks to be almost like a live action continuation of Star Wars Rebels, which there was a rumored still series to Rebels for a while, and that never really came to fruition. So I guess I wonder if they had pivoted to doing it this way. But they showed a little bit of footage. It was like a minute they showed of Ahsoka.
Yeah, and they've only done 3 weeks of filming.
Yeah.
So there wasn't really much dialogue to speak of in the minute. It was really like some establishing shots. Among them, they tell everyone to put your phones down and not take video or pictures of it. But it looked like a still popped up.
Yeah.
So I took my phone ready to take a picture of this mural that had the Rebels gang in this action world. And then it started, someone stepped in front of it. And I was like, oh no, I don't want to get kicked out for putting up my phone. So
I also took a picture of that. So
yeah, we will not share it because we don't want to lose our good communication with Lucasfilm and Disney and beyond. That is our lifeblood. Now, what was your reaction to the panel as a whole? Was it what you were expecting? It was called Mando Plus. Did it give you all the plus that you thought we were going to get?
Yeah, I would say so. It was entertaining throughout. It was great to see all the actors in person. This was the very first time they've done a panel like this since the Mandalorian premiered, the first season.
Yeah.
Only ever did one other panel, that was Star Wars Celebration Chicago, and that was like a preview of it.
Yeah, it was so far in advance that they really couldn't tell us anything because they were trying to keep Baby Yoda under wraps. I thought that was interesting. Dave Filoni and Jon Favreau talked a little bit about the 2 big secrets that they were able to keep. And kind of, if there were 2 that they were going to keep, was the 2 that would have been most important. But how amazing that they were able to keep Baby Yoda a secret, until the launch of the first episode, and then they were able to keep Mark Hamill a secret until the launch of the season 2 finale, which was cool. Now we got Temuera Morrison there, which he had a brief appearance in season 2 of Mandalorian, but then had his whole story arc, Book of Boba Fett. And we didn't get Ming-Na there because reportedly she is not feeling well. But how did you feel?
Reported by herself.
Reported by herself
on her Instagram. Yeah.
She reports she's not playing hooky, we think, but she couldn't be there. So we only really had Temuera Morrison to kind of talk about Boba Fett, Book of Boba Fett. To me, that section seemed small in comparison to the whole scope.
I was really hoping for a official confirmation of a second season of the Book of Boba Fett. I think that was kind of, I don't know. I was expecting at least one big announcement to get everybody excited. I mean, we got to see the footage from Ahsoka, and there was extended version of the Mandalorian kind of teaser. They didn't call it a trailer because it's not released there except for Celebration.
Yeah. Jon Favreau even made it clear this isn't going on the internet. The season of Mandalorian doesn't even start streaming until February 2023. So, we still quite a ways to go until we get to see it. But I'm curious to know, what was your reaction to the footage, and in particular, the additional that we got to see today?
Season 3 of The Mandalorian looks like it's really getting into the weeds of Mandalorian society, which it looks visually, it looks stunning and really intriguing to me. But those are always my least favorite episodes of Rebels. Like, oh, it's a Mandalorian episode. Obviously, that opinion shifted a bit since Mandalorian brought that front and center. And I've gone back and rewatched those. I was like, okay, I kind of see what's in here. And it's nice that they are building off of this lore. And it seems like they're carrying that a lot of that over to season 3 of The Mandalorian. I think it's going to make. I'm actually planning on doing a Rebel where I have the chance, because I feel like so much of that is going to pay off in Ahsoka and The Mandalorian. So it could be a good investment of your time if you rewatch Rebels before these 2 seasons come out.
Yeah, I did. And thank you to Nick and Jeff. I'm seeing your comments, and I think we both really appreciate it. We are. We're working pretty hard, pretty nonstop.
I've been doing this.
I mean, it's kind of silly to say we're working hard covering Star Wars, but it does in the moment feel stressful, like, because you are just trying to cover everything and not miss something. Yeah, I was really impressed with the footage that we saw. Like you, well, I actually haven't watched Rebels since it aired. Like, I was staying current with that series, but it did make me want to go back and rewatch Rebels. One of the things that I always appreciate with this series is how much they commit to kind of doing things the old-fashioned way. And one of the things that brought me the most joy the first time I saw it, got to see it twice again today, was the Kowakian monkey lizards in the tree. And it's so clear that these are puppets, and they're just, blue screen erasing the puppeteers underneath them. And that, like, it's just classic Lucasfilm. It's like original trilogy, Ewok, all of Endor, TV movie kind of stuff. And I just love it. That all made me really happy.
There's also a shot, either Babu Frick or other members of the Enzellan species that Babu Frick belongs to.
Yep.
In the new footage they showed for Mandalorian today, and everybody went nuts.
And Babu Frick is my highlight of Rise of Skywalker. So more or whatever they are. And
then there's a big, I don't know, how many spoilers do we want to give away about this footage?
I guess we probably shouldn't give away too many. Yeah. I mean, have you done a recap? Like, here's what we saw post, or are you planning to?
I mean, I would have to. I don't know. I don't really have that kind of recall.
I know it's out there. It's on the internet. People have done a summary. So if you're looking for it, I hate to direct you away from laughing, but you can Google it and find that if you want it. And otherwise, we'll let you just Jon Favreau and Dave Filoni will just what you get to see ahead of next February, and that's what you can live with, or you can like direct message and we can try and recall. We'll put our heads together and figure out what all was shown. Kyle, anything that you've seen being outside of Star Wars Celebration that has gotten you excited for any of these Mando Plus projects?
Well, I mean, the mention of Babu Frick, that's definitely up my alley, because, like you said, easily my favorite part of Rise of Skywalker. But it's funny you mentioned outside of Celebration, because I think that's probably my biggest story of the day. Is I know we learned about it yesterday, but of course, Boba Fett and Fennec Shand are now at Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland, and that's very interesting for a number of reasons. But I think that's kind of stole the focus for me today, was knowing that was going to happen. Mm-hmm. But yeah,
and that was a big deal. And I was surprised. We were at Star Wars night last night. I think everybody was surprised they didn't debut them then, because they literally waited like 12 hours to put them out after this hard ticket event.
At the same time, like, maybe it was an idea to not another draw into Galaxy's Edge, because there were so many people in that land.
That is very true. Yeah. I honestly can't speak to what the rest of Disney felt like, because I spent close to 100% of my time at Disney night there, other than talking to it and walking out of it. That's when I saw bits of the rest of the park.
Well, we literally walked onto Alice in Wonderland, which I've never done before. Like, I've never seen that long empty, including at these like Disneyland After Dark events. It's always got at least 2 switchbacks going. So that'll tell you how many people were leaving Disneyland proper and going over to Batu. Yeah.
Now, for me, the rest of my day, other than Star Wars Hunters, was still spent pretty much in the Mandalorian world. I know from looking at the schedule, a lot of the panels being off Mando Plus seemed tangentially related to Mandalorian. Was that your takeaway from your day of coverage?
Well, yeah, I would say so. Actually, especially the first three, because I stayed in the celebration stage right after the Mandalorian, and there was a behind the scenes of the Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett presentation that was followed that up right away. And then after that, Dave Filoni had a panel about his new series of animated shorts called Tales of the Jedi
with baby, not Baby Yoda, but baby Ahsoka.
Yeah.
Because we love taking things, if Star Wars, and making it baby so we can buy it again and make it.
To be fair, I think from what he was saying, I believe baby Ahsoka is only in the one episode that we got to see.
And this is an animated short series.
Yes.
And not necessarily connected. Like, these are like a series of isolated shorts.
Yeah. I find the whole thing very odd, but I like the episode they showed us. I like the mood and the tone, and it kind of took its time. It's 15 minutes long. And this series has 6 episodes total. I think they're going to be 15 minutes each. 3 of them are about Ahsoka, and 3 of them are about Count Dooku, like a younger Count Dooku. Just like such a weird pairing, but I guess those are the stories he wanted to tell. But I am curious to see more.
Yeah, well, I mean, it is Dave Filoni leading this, and this is kind of his return to animation in a way. Not that he didn't come back for Bad Batch and Clone Wars, but I think the big buzz has been mostly around the live action projects that he's been working on. So that was interesting to hear. Was there anything revelatory out of the behind the scenes panel that you did that you hadn't learned from the Disney Plus behind the scenes films that they put out?
Favreau doesn't like Grogu's feet.
That's all right. Yeah, I did tweet that piece of information came out that we haven't seen Grogu's feet in the show because Jon Favreau doesn't like them.
Okay.
Which reminded me of a quote from T, where Drew Barrymore is like, I don't like his feet.
Mm-hmm.
But it was actually kind of a drier panel, especially having watched all those Disney Gallery. Like I pretty much knew a lot of the stuff they were talking about already. They showed some footage that I think was lifted right out of that Book of Boba Fett Disney Gallery, and there were like a lot of gasps around me in the audience. Were you in there for that?
I wasn't in that one, but I went to Doug Chang's presentation, which was all about the art of Mandalorian and Book of Boba Fett.
Yeah. And
there were things in there I remember from the Disney Gallery, and lots of people were like, "Oh my God, that's so cool!" And I was like, "This level of fandom, you're at Star Wars Celebration, but you don't have the hour to watch the behind the scenes that's on Disney Plus." But I digress. This was the same for me at other conventions. Like, I'm a bonus feature junkie, so I would have already watched all bonus features, and then they're just if I went to a panel, they were just regurgitating that information. I was always surprised how many people like, this is breaking news, because I'm like,
oh, that's how I feel about anything that's come out about Indy 5. Like, I remember it was announced that it was happening, and then a year later, like almost to the day, people are like, oh, they just announced Indy 5. I'm like, no, that already happened. And now with the release date, it's been the same release date for like a year. People are like,
but we can confirm that Harrison Ford knows there's a release date.
Well, there you go. That's good.
That was news.
I also watched, I actually saw part of the behind the scenes panel you were talking about, and they might have said it elsewhere, but I thought it was interesting. They're talking about how impressed James Cameron was when he came to set. Like, that's kind of an endorsement, as everyone knows, James being up on his technology and his, expertise.
I had heard that story before, but I do not remember where. It could have been somewhere else this weekend. It could have been in one of those Disney galleries, but I don't know. That information was somewhere in my brain.
Now, during the Doug Chang, I'm going to try and find a photo that I thought was very funny. I also do have one of Grogu's feet, if anybody wants to see them. Now, I have not picked up like the art of Mandalorian book, so this is probably in there.
Yeah.
But of the things that Doug Chang was talking about, he talked about the development of Grogu and how Jon Favreau's directive was ugly cute, and how it took them a while. And one of the things that's, I think, really impressive about the scope of Mandalorian is he said basically they were in a third of the amount of time that they would have spent on a movie, they were making the equivalent of 7 movies in terms of developing and things like that. And he kept referencing the time like working on the prequel trilogy, how they would spend like 3 to 4 years in visual development before they would actually commit to designs. Whereas on Mandalorian, sometimes they were going into filming and the digital elements weren't necessarily finalized and they were still developing even in post-production. But with Baby Yoda, they were taking the Yoda figure and shrinking him down to miniature. And Yoda has pupils. Like Yoda's got, whites of his eyes like a human eye. So I'm hoping this shows up fairly well. But that is Grogu with like the mini eyes, and you can see just how uncanny it looks. And then the trick to solving that problem was to give it more of like a canine's eyes, where the black of the eye are much bigger, and you just have little slivers of white on the sides, and that was like the difference. Now his foot was in that shot, but this is what is under the potato sack. So if you've ever wondered,
I'm glad somebody else calls it the potato sack.
Yeah, Doug Payne.
Really? I thought I was the only one calling it a potato sack.
Doug Payne called what Grogu is a potato sack, and that is Grogu's body yaddy yaddy. So that was interesting. Spent a lot of time talking about the development of the Razor Crest, the shape language of Star Wars, how much real world stuff they reference when they're making these ships and things like that, and also kind of a fun full circle moment for him as a designer, because his career at Lucasfilm started with the prequels, and talked a lot about Ralph McQuarrie and how much they still go back and reference Ralph McQuarrie designs, especially when they're trying to problem solve and they're feeling creatively stuck. But he designed, one of the first things he designed was the Naboo ships, the sleek yellow ships. For episode 1, and now coming full circle, having it be one of Din Djarin's new ships, and he talked about the process of basically reverse engineering it, because they had never designed what was like structure underneath all the chrome and yellow siding, so they had to do all that, because you see it like like a car being worked on, all the panels are off. And how they kind of customized it to the Mandalorian by doing some simple things like leaving some of the siding off the front end to make it look a little sharper, like it has teeth almost. Some cool things like that. So that was a really neat panel. Did you have anything else that stuck out to you that you wanted to talk about?
Well, after the Tales of the Jedi panel, I went over to Marvel Comics, which was why I wore
pointing out Mike's shirt today, which
custom made.
If you've ever read a Marvel Star Wars comic, Hutts come play a lot. There's more than just Jabba, in case you didn't know, and there's always an asterisk, like it's in brackets, the text in English, and then down at the bottom the star tells you it's translated from Huttese. So that is Mike's awesome fan-made shirt.
The dorks loved the shirt and complimented me as I walked around, which is exactly what I was going for. The Marvel Comics panel brought out a lot of the writers. It was mostly about going through each of the currently running titles and giving a little bit of a preview of what's coming up in each one. But they did make a couple announcements. There's going to be a Yoda comic book miniseries, which is going to be 9 issues total. They said it's a trilogy of trilogies. So three issues are going to have one arc. The middle 3 issues are going to have another arc, and then final 3 will have the final arc. Each one written by a different writer. And then Star Wars Visions is also getting its own comic book series. They didn't really give many details about that, except to say that it's not an adaptation of one of the stories we've seen. It's its own original story, but in the same vein as what we saw in Star Wars Vision last year.
A question about that. Is it going to be manga format? Are they having like an actual Japanese manga writer?
That's what I was going to say. I wonder if it'll be backwards like a manga.
Will you have to flip it backwards? Will it be this big? Is it this thick?
That's a great question. I don't think they said that, but they have done manga recently with High Republic. There was a couple I think you reviewed one of them.
Yeah, published by Viz Media, who specializes in importing manga. So this was one that was like homegrown, built for an English language, but made in Japan, which was cool. Now, the one thing that I left the poster there on the bed if you can grab it,
Sure.
just as a visual aid. So there's a new mobile game coming out. I don't know if you've tried it on the show floor, called Star Wars Hunters, and I attended a panel about this. The game itself is set on a new world on the edge of the Outer Rim. It's a Hutt and a former like gladiator fighter basically started this battle arena where they've assembled different atmospheres as stages. And these are the main characters you get to play as. My favorite, it's two Jawas that are stacked on top of each other like kids, like a Little Rascals kind of a thing, so that they're the same height, so that they're height eligible to enter the fight. But this is it's a pretty fun game. It is a fighting game. As you play through, one of the big reveals was some of the different costumes that you can unlock and customize. So the back of this giveaway poster showcases some of those. So I'm going to be doing a written piece about Star Wars Hunters, about everything that I learned at that panel. And I'm trying to scan this in a nice way that it will be easy to see on place.com. So check back for that. Hopefully we'll have that up by Monday. Any other you wanted to touch on?
Well, the last panel that I just came from just now was Del Rey books, Del Rey chain, and they actually different kind of panel where it wasn't like a bunch of announcements. They had all the authors there, and they just kind of did a deep dive into one book that just came out called Star Wars Brotherhood. That's about Anakin and Obi-Wan, like right at the beginning of the Clone Wars, and then an upcoming book called Shadow of the Sith by Mike Chen. That's about Lando and Luke's adventure that's referenced in the Skywalker. So they're kind of like filling in that gap. I've actually started reading the advanced copy of that. It's very good. I'm very excited about that. And then they also talked about The Princess and the Scoundrel, which is about Han and Leia's wedding. They're finally doing that in the current canon.
And their subsequent honeymoon on the Halcyon.
And their honeymoon on the Halcyon Star Cruiser. Yeah. Synergy. But yeah, it was pretty interesting. It just didn't have any news, really. There was really not much news to talk about other than the stuff that they told us about the Shadow of the Sith novel, which I've already started reading. It wasn't really news to me. But I did tweet out like a couple of the little reveals they did about that. And then they talked a little bit, like gave us a little details about Han and Leia's wedding and how the Ewoks are going to be participating in it. And Lando actually throws him a bachelor party on Endor the night before, and the Ewoks get involved with that too or something. But it all sounds very wacky and entertaining.
Lots of yub nub
Yeah.
Go around the wedding. I'm surprised that brings up another thing. In addition to this being the first celebration since Mando launched, it's the first celebration since the High Republic launched.
Yes.
I've seen some cosplay
Yes.
from the High Republic, but I really haven't seen much of a representation anywhere of branding for the High Republic outside of like shopping opportunities where they have the Del Rey books on display. Noticing the same
sounds like there's more coming on some of the stage, the stuff that's happened. I don't know if you guys have seen the stuff at like the live stream stage, but they've talked about some pops are coming and things like that. I think even some lounge, you just showed a Loungefly. I think they said there's like Loungefly High Republic stuff. So maybe it just was one of those pandemic issue things that they didn't have it in time, but it's a good point. But I think, and obviously they talked about incorporating the new Disney Plus show and stuff. So I'm sure you'll see it.
Yeah, they had a panel for the High Republic on Thursday, and it was in the Galaxy stage, which is like the middle-sized room.
Yeah.
And they filled that thing up. So I think, and it got a great response and everything. So I think, as far as I can tell, it has been well received, and people are talking about it. But it is mostly a publishing project. It's weird because I had an interview with the authors behind the High Republic after the panel. I wanted to ask about the connection to the TV series, The Acolyte, and they kind of shut me down about it when I started asking the question. I think that they're tired of being asked about it because they literally just know. They're just not kept in the loop on that, which seems so odd to me because they basically built this time period for the comics and the novels and stuff, and then now they're going to be setting this TV series at the end of that time period, but yet these folks who like construct the framework of that are not being kept in the loop on that. It just seems like departments should be talking to each other more, and they're not, and that seems frustrating to me as a consumer of it. But I wonder if it's frustrating to them. I just didn't want to talk about it.
Well, everything that they do has to get approved by a story group. So I'm guessing there's a story group member, the middle person, to say you can't do this, and I can't tell you why, but don't do that. Like change that. You know,
isn't the Disney Junior ones in the High Republic too? Isn't it? The one that they announced yesterday, the day before that.
Of that, but I don't even know what it is.
I already forgot the name of it, but
he's something with the word Jedi in it, I think.
Yeah, Jedi. I think Young Jedi Adventures, maybe something simple as that.
Yeah,
Jedi babies.
Could be
a pup named Jedi. Now, this is your first time doing one of these night recaps, so we actually haven't had your input on anything that you specifically attended that you or I weren't also in. Was there any other highlights so far from Thursday or Friday that you wanted to talk about?
Man, I had today on the brain. I have to shift my brain back. I don't remember what I did. Let's see. How did this all begin? I don't even remember.
He sang Billy Joel. That's all I remember from this whole thing.
Yeah, I was at a karaoke party on Wednesday night. There was the Lucasfilm thing that you guys were in with me.
Yeah, so we've covered that one.
Okay. I did a bunch yesterday, and I just moved one right. The Lego one that I did.
Oh yeah, was there any new Lego sets coming out that?
Yeah, so they revealed the BD one, which is the droid from Jedi Fallen Order, the video game, and you can build him. He's like this big, probably. Buildable Lego droid of BD1, and then they also revealed the first Lego set to come from Andor, the Disney Plus live action series that's coming out at the end of summer. And then they talked a bit about the new animated special, which is called Lego Star Wars Summer Vacation, coming to Disney Plus, I think also in August. Publishing.
We had covered a lot based on your tweets of the merchandise panel yesterday's show. Did you do Attack of the Clones 20th anniversary?
No.
Okay.
I was in Lego, I think.
Gotcha.
Yeah. Those Lego sets you mentioned, those I think are coming out August 1st, but they're available for pre-order now on Lego.com. Or at least the BD one. Not 100% sure about Andor, but it's listed on there.
Okay.
And then Thursday.
I'm sorry.
No, you're fine.
It's just a lot. I've been doing a lot.
I'm just looking at what the stage is.
Disney Parks. Oh, that was the big one. Disney Parks merchandise, which was like super rapid fire. And I'm trying to take pictures, and like you were probably following along, Kyle. Like I'm trying to tweet everything out that they're revealing, and it was just like one after another. And
it's also kind of confusing the way that they're like future just the terminology was weird, and then some of the Life Day stuff were like, well, some of this is new, but some of it you had last year, but did that not count?
So that was lines. A ton of reveals coming out of Disney Parks merch, Star Wars, and
Indy.
Yeah. Oh man, I'm so disappointed. I told you about this last night, but they had revealed the fertility idol, which I think they had sold on Shop Disney previously, and it like sold out immediately. So I was super thrilled when they announced it was coming to the parks. But then somebody, I think one of my Indiana Jones buddies, mentioned to me that it's like slightly larger than it should be based on the prop. Like it's not quite the right size, and it immediately turned me off to it. I was like,
instead of weighing 1 bag of sand, it weighs 1.5 bag of sand.
Now he's gonna get a crystal skull instead.
But then after that, I did the Disney Parks proper panel, which was the big celebration stage. And the big stuff coming out of that was, like you mentioned, the Boba Fett and Fennec Shand at Galaxy's Edge. And then the whole panel was pretty much just like a recap of like the whole history of Lucasfilm's relation. Well, not Lucasfilm, because they didn't touch on Indiana Jones. It was just Star Wars relationship with Disney parks, like from the very beginning all the way up till now. So that, that's a lot of history there. So they much just talked about that. But it was cool. They had some behind the scenes photos and diagrams that I had never seen before, but I had seen people like trying to guess exactly what the layout of the mechanism, the turntable mechanism in Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run actually looks like. So they've actually like shown that publicly now. So that's out there if people are curious if it actually works and what it actually looks like inside the show building.
Yeah, and
did you happen to see like obviously during that panel they mentioned, or the teased really, that there'd be adding more stuff to Star Tours, which is kind of a duh. But during the part on the live stream, they had Trowbridge and a couple of other Imagineers out, and he asked, I don't know if he meant to say Star Tours and said Smuggler's Run. He's like, oh, there are some updates coming to Smuggler's Run. And Trowbridge is like, we're always evolving stuff. Some stuff we're able to talk about, some stuff we're not. So I was like, that was kind of weird. Did you accidentally just announce that you'd be updating that too? Which I guess, if they're throwing out the timeline, then maybe, but.
Yeah.
And one of the things, I did the Star Tours D23 35th panel yesterday. And they spent about half the time on the original Star Tours and then the other half on the Adventure Continue. They did not share any news about what's coming to it. But one of the things they mentioned that was when they added the Batuu finale to like promote the land. They basically had to create the digital model of Black Spire Outpost and Batuu surrounding it, like the rest of the planet that you see as you go out and in. They reused those same assets on both Smuggler's Run and Rise of the Resistance. And we're talking about how, there's all this collaboration now between the teams who do Star Tours and the teams who do Galaxy's Edge. So, it is possible that they do something that cohesively, connects them both.
That would be neat. I'll never forgive that ending of Star Tours for making me think IG-88 would be in Galaxy's Edge. There is an IG assassin droid in Doc Ondar's, but it's like dead on the balcony. But I thought there would
droids
be
die. I'm just joking.
What is dead may never
That's
die.
too much. That's like asking when does a Toy Story become sentient? If it's when a child loves them, then explain Stinky Pete. Anyway, I think we're about done with today's show. There's just one more day left for Star Wars Celebration, so we are almost at the end. I think as much as we love Star Wars, I think we're all ready for the end of Celebration.
I'm so exhausted. I haven't had a lot of sleep.
Yep, that's the general vibe. Even people who aren't covering it I'm just so tired. I'm ready for a break. So we're all, I think, in that same Star Speeder together, and tomorrow will be the last day. And we're in the same sail barge.
I was actually thinking today during one of the panels, I thought it was the Del Rey panel, like I kind of just wish I was reading these books instead of hearing people talking about them. And which is sad too, because I really missed events like this. I love conventions and I love Comic-Con and Star Wars Celebration, stuff like that. But I don't know. I'm getting to be an old man. I just want to go and consume media.
That right there, Jeff. And in fact, Michael Vargo introduced the D23 Star Tours panel and mentioned that D23 Expo is just around the corner in September and it'll be here sooner than we expect. So yeah, I'm not resting on my laurels. I'm ready to jump into that when it comes. So, but until tomorrow night's final recap show, may the Force be with you.